Welcome to the Gentleman's Guide to the Accursed, and specifically to Junction City. This isn't the first video I've made about Junction City. The previous one, where I spoke about this vast city in the heart of Curseborne, spoke about the city from a political standpoint and a cursed standpoint, how the families interact with each other and the mortal industry, the politics of Junction City, and so on. The city's thriving fortunes and slump into iniquity. I spoke about all of that. And I should state, for anyone who doubts, Junction City is not the official setting of Curseborne. It's my setting for Curseborne. It's where I run my Curseborne games ordinarily. And while the locations and sites that exist within the story guide chapter for Curseborne, I wrote them from my setting of Junction City. So if you want to set a game in Junction City, basically you've got the districts, the geography, everything that's important right there in the Curseborne core book. And when the Curseborne Compact Edition comes out, you'll find even more, because even though it's a compact edition, that doesn't mean there's not new stuff to be found. Junction City is ultimately a fictional place in roughly the same geographical location as Des Moines. So it is isolated. And we've covered all of this in the previous video, but I just want to set the scene. Now, why am I speaking about it again? Well, Pete, who previously requested the Junction City video, got in touch again and wanted to know all about the seedier, the underworld, the underbelly side of Junction City. And anyone can request a video. All you need to do is pick up a hard copy of The World Below or Monster Kingdoms, and just get in touch with me via MatthewDawkins.com. If you can send me proof of purchase, fantastic. Just let me know you've picked up one of these books, and you can request a video of your choice on a game you like or a game you're interested in. Any game you want, I will make the video for you. That is the price of admission. Just buy one of my games, and I will be more than happy to create a video of your choosing. So, underbelly of Junction City. Not just the accursed side, but the liminal, the phenomenal, the supernatural side of Junction City. And not just supernatural, indeed, the murderous, grotesque side of Junction City, because there are a lot of grotesqueries in Junction City's past. Most famous of which took place at the Riverside Theatre. Now, I know what you might be thinking. If you're familiar with the actual play I ran of Curseborne last year or year before, you'll know that Junction City and the Riverside Theatre were the focal point for a musical number by the name of The Bitch Is Dead, which critics said celebrated, rather nastily, the notorious deeds of serial murderer Victor Latendresse. Now, while this is true, this performance did take place, and it did attract to it a certain amount of infamy. Victor Latendresse's deeds were never performed at the Junction City Riverside Theatre. It's not known that he ever even visited the theatre in his life. He wasn't much of a drama buff. Rather, that was peripheral. The fact that Riverside Theatre draws an awful lot of this negativity. Notorious acts take place there because it is something of a locus of ill will and bad feeling. It is arguably the most haunted place in Junction City, at least as far as Gaki and Reeves are concerned. And the Reeves have a vested interest in all of this, because while the Gaki claim the theatre as part of their nominal territory in the city, it's the Reeves who have the personal connection that is most profound in recent time. Almost all theatres are classified as haunted. It's something of cash that comes with being a theatre. But the Reeves have this personal connection because it was in the 1960s that a major in the US Army, his body was found in a cloakroom during a performance that was taking place at the theatre. His body, which had been stabbed something like 27 times according to the coroner, and yet the mystery was no one ever saw this army major enter the theatre. It was a packed house. The show was taking place. Every seat was booked and occupied, so it wasn't as if he had left his seat, gone to the cloakroom, and been exsanguinated there. And, importantly, no blood was found in the cloakroom. So it was almost certain that his body had been dumped there rather than he had been slain there, unless someone had been there to collect all of the blood that issued from the 20-something wounds marking him. All over, there was barely a part of him that wasn't sliced or stabbed. Why the Reeves care about this is because this major in the US Army was, to the local Reeves of Junction City, something of a pride and joy. He was something of a hero to them. While he wasn't accursed, he was a mortal relative of the dominant Reeve in Junction City, and that meant he was a mortal relative of a lot of the Reeves in Junction City. And he had served in the Second World War, he had served in Korea, and he was honoured. He was a war hero, and the Reeves liked to prop him up as such. He wasn't even supposed to be in the country. He was supposed to be in West Berlin at the time that his body was found. And so there was a massive stink that emerged following this. The Reeves, of course, saw it as a grave insult. They assumed that there was no way that one of their relatives, mortal or otherwise, would have ended up dead in Junction City in a contested piece of territory between them and the Gaki, unless it was some kind of warning or show of force. But no one came forward, no one owned responsibility, no one explained that they were the people behind the death of the US Army major. His body was just there, inexplicably. Naturally, there were outcasts in the city that decided that they knew innately, oh, he must have passed through some liminality or been dragged through a portal and dumped here. But outcasts of the battleground angels, of the Nephilim, they surveyed the area at high expense because the Gaki laid down the law and said, this is our territory. We will handle the interrogations of any spirits, phantasms, spectres, and the like. So the outcasts, they charged a lot to tread on Gaki territory. The Reeves paid them. These outcast families got in various feuds with the Gaki following that and basically said, well, the money was good and the heirlooms were even better, so we are prepared to insult you. There was a massive eruption of hostility, and after all of that, the outcasts found nothing to imply that there was a liminal threshold in the area. And the Gaki weren't remiss. They didn't just ignore the problem. They interrogated every single spirit in that theatre, and there were a lot. And they had good cause, not just because of Reeve agitation, but because the hauntings in the weeks and months that followed the Major's body being discovered had worsened. They'd exacerbated. More assaults, more molestations, more attempts at possession of regular theatre goers, people with no connection to the supernatural. And it's often the case that when accursed hear about this kind of thing, they feel very up in arms and they need to take it out on the spirits. Well, the Gaki want to know, why are you being so agitated? What is winding you up? Is it something to do with this guy, the dead major who was discovered here? The phantasms were in such a frenzied state they could barely respond. Ultimately, the Gaki performed a massive expulsion, a banishment of all of these spirits, and this was to their cost. They didn't want to remove such a valuable resource from such a locus of negative energy, but they had to. And to their massive frustration, the Major himself didn't leave a phantasm. They tried summoning it. After all, he was dead. Most dead people leave some kind of echo, some kind of remnant. But there was nothing to be done, nothing to be found. They performed advanced necromantic rites as their frustration deepened. They were determined to find his soul, his spirit, and interrogate it. Nothing at all. To the point that the Gaki Magister of Junction City made a proclamation before the other Hungary, at one of their conciliums, and to the Reeves as well. This major, this Reeve adjunct, had no spirit, had no soul. If he did, we would have been able to summon it. Now, there were plenty of Reeves who didn't believe this, and indeed plenty of other accursed who didn't believe it. But the hauntings, once the Gaki had expelled all of these spirits, they abated. The Riverside Theatre closed for some time because after all of these assaults and molestations, well, the mortal government decided there must be something in the water, and so the Riverside Theatre was closed down for several years following this. But it became a lasting mystery. Who killed the Major? What became of his soul? Did he ever have one? How did his body get here? It was a classic locked room mystery, and it involved so many families, so many moving parts in Junction City, that it, for the 1960s through to the end of the 1970s, was a massive cause du jour and a massive cause of eruption between families. Whenever there was the slightest excuse needed for conflict, the death of the Major was brought up again. Who was behind it? Was it you? And this is just one of these stories that exists, and it still exists. It's still told. It's still seen as a big reason for why the Gaki and the Reeves don't see eye to eye in Junction City. There are weirder phenomena as well, of course, such as how in the top floor of City Hall in Junction City, it never goes dark. This is something that a lot of people have picked up on, not just Accursed. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas Eve, it's blizzard season, even when one of those rolling blackouts that regularly hits the west side swoops through, last 6 hours, the lights on the top floor of City Hall never go out. The windows stay lit. Janitors there, they claim, as janitors are oft to do, that they hear furniture moving after midnight, not footsteps, but the scraping of heavy tables across marble floors. One maintenance worker actually swore he saw a dark trail of tar-like mud and soil tracked through the council chamber after a February snowstorm. It smelled, he said, like stagnant river water and grave dirt. He quit the next day, disappeared shortly thereafter. The official story was he'd gone for family reasons, but he never had a family. He just left and has not been seen since. People say that the mayor's office at the City Hall isn't actually where the decisions happen. There's another chamber below the building, is what a lot of Accursed would have you believe. It's older than the city itself, indeed, where a handful of council members meet with advisors that nobody sees during the daylight. Whether it's zoning changes, police transfers, mysterious fires in redevelopment districts, all are approved in these meetings. Old-timers in the city, they like to whisper that every mayor since the 1970s has disappeared for 3 nights before inauguration, and when the mayor comes back, they are always exhausted. They look older than they did before inauguration. They have a tiny crescent-shaped scar just on the left temple. And if you ask about it, someone from Internal Affairs or IRS will start harassing you until you shut up. Now, that's a conspiracy phenomenon that sees a lot of play among Accursed. The idea that the mortal government is subject to a force beyond the Accursed. The heirs would, of course, have you believe otherwise. They would say that everything is firmly in their hand, but there are plenty who disbelieve that claim. There's also the claim that in the Mercy Street, it is a part of Junction City that used to be respectable before the hospitals closed. Not all of them, but all the hospitals in this part of the city, and the shelters moved in their place. Ambulance crews these days, paramedics, they refuse to stop in Mercy Street after dark unless they've got a police escort. There's too many disappearances here. Officially, according to the cops, any disappearances are addicts, they're drifters, people who are moving out of town or freezing to death in abandoned buildings. And believe me, there are plenty of abandoned buildings in the inner city of Junction City. Unofficially, there are folk who talk about a man in white scrubs walking the alleys, carrying an old leather doctor's bag. Witnesses never remember his face, just the smell of antiseptic and cigarette smoke that clings to his pathway. He apparently asks you if you're in pain. If you say yes, you never make it home. There are some that connect this entity to a fabled outsider by the name of Dr. Scritch Scratch, who you can find out about in Accursed Adventures. Whether it's the same creature, a creature of the same genesis, is difficult to tell. Scritch Scratch isn't necessarily a talkative individual in that regard, and the man in white is less so. And the thing is, the creepiest part is what the cops allegedly found in 2014. I say allegedly because very little was ever verified by the press. Someone leaked photos online before they vanished. A basement beneath the condemned Saint-Germain clinic lined wall to wall with labelled jars. Teeth, gallstones, fingers, human hearts wrapped in butcher paper with dates written on them, going all the way back to 1971. Rumour says that the task force investigating it was shut down after they traced utility payments on this building to a shell company tied to 2 city council donors. The basement got filled with concrete 3 days later, but people on Mercy Street, they still hear metal trays clattering underground when the rain gets heavy, and the occasional sight out of the corner of their eye, and the man in white carrying his brown leather bag. Then there's the Junction City Metro, which we touched upon in our previous video. It is a hive of liminal spaces and thresholds. Most of all, the Red Line. There's no route number for the Red Line. It's decommissioned. In fact, it was never commissioned in the first place. There's no conductor announcements on the Red Line, no transit records. But trains are said to show up about 1:13 in the morning, so 1:13 a.m. if you're standing alone on the platform. You have to be alone. Cameras always fuzz out just before the train arrives, and witnesses describe the cars differently every time. Some who have stood on the platform, they'll say that it looks like polished stainless steel from the 70s. Others claim it looks burned, like it was blackened in a tunnel fire. Everyone agrees on one thing: the passengers who are already on the train never look at you until you board. When you board, you are the focus of all their attention. There was a homeless veteran, not the major, who supposedly rode the train all the way to the end. Came back 6 days later, missing all his fingernails and half his hearing. He spent the rest of his life screaming whenever he heard train brakes. Before he died, he told a social worker that the Red Line doesn't go across Junction City. It goes down farther than any train has any right to go. He said there are entire stations down there abandoned before the metro was officially built. Stations filled with tiled walls older than the city itself, a mural showing crowds of faceless people standing around a giant pit. Transit Authority obviously denied any such line exists, but maintenance workers still disappear underground often enough that nobody believes them. So many other stories emerge from Junction City, so many up here or on the page. Junction City is, as the name implies, a city where you can go anywhere, you can see anything, you can pass into other worlds or out of them. Sometimes you don't even know you've entered them until it's too late and you can't come back. If anyone else out there wants more Junction City stories, please pick up a physical copy of The World Below or Monster Kingdoms. Get in touch with me via MatthewDawkins.com and I will make you more videos. I hope this has been inspiring to you and your Curseborne games. Thank you very much for watching. I will be seeing you.